Time now for Money, Power, Politics. Obviously, there are still a lot of questions about the Strait of Hormuz right now. In the midst of all of that, the Financial Times is reporting that Iran will be demanding tolls to pass through the strait, and they want it to be paid in cryptocurrency. A spokesperson for Iran's oil exporters union told the Times that paying in crypto ensures the tolls cannot be traced or confiscated because of sanctions. The nightcap is still here. You know I'm turning to you first, Jillian. If Iran wants to be paid in crypto, how would that work and what would it mean?
Well, it wouldn't be that difficult from any other crypto transaction, in that you have two parties who both have, say, Bitcoin accounts, and they make that payment. Might be a bit hard for some of the ships at sea, but let's hope they have great Wi-Fi and crypto accounts. It's worth pointing out that before they said crypto, they actually first said Chinese renminbi, Chinese yuan.
Why would they say that?
Because they want to use anything that's not dollars. That's a critical
That's what I want to talk about.
And that's a crucial point, because what has happened in the last few years as America has used the dollar as a weapon and used sanctions to basically go after its enemies, essentially America is using hegemonic power, dominance in finance, to try and control the global economy and financial system. China's doing the same thing, I should say, in industry. China has hegemonic power dominance by controlling key supply chain nodes like rare earth minerals. So America's trying to exert its financial muscles. Unsurprisingly, China and others, including Russia, are trying to find ways to challenge that. That's been going on for a long time. There's signs that dollar usage is declining a bit in some areas that dollars are used, but not many other areas. And essentially what China's doing is a middle finger to, what Iran's doing is a middle finger to America right now, and asking China to help it.
This would not be good, Richard, for the U.S. dollar.
By the way, but aren't they going to be collecting the money themselves, policing the...
Exactly. It's Trump's argument that they're going to get it together.
Yeah.
Well, look, nobody in the Middle East, and certainly Iran, doesn't like using the U.S. dollar for everything. The Chinese have been trying to move people off the dollar for decades now. The fact that the dollar became in part dominant because of the use of petrodollars in the 1970s, that all of oil had to be paid in dollars. People don't like this hegemonic thing of the dollar. The problem is, and you guys know much more than I do about this, there is no good replacement. If there was a good replacement, people would start leaving the dollar. But it still is the reserve currency. And if Trump actually undermines that, that would be something that we would all be paying the price for decades.
Okay, but the thing about the petrodollar system, right, it has been this like 50-year loop that's tied the sale of oil in the Middle East to the American dollar. This war could end that.
Not only has tied oil sales to the dollar, it's recycled oil sales back as an investment into the United States and other markets. I don't think the dollar's going anywhere. I think crypto's a gambling chip. I suspect one of the reasons the Iranians like the idea of crypto is it will make it easier to launder money and bribes and transmit bribes through the facilities of the tolling mechanism. There's no central bank behind crypto, and there's just a lot of things that aren't positioning it to replace the dollar. But currencies are a function of a country, confidence in a country's trading prowess and economic prowess. The dollar displaced the pound around World War I as the global currency of choice because the United States had a mightier economy than the United Kingdom did. The United States' real challenge right now is one-to-one economic growth with China. And at some point in the future, Chinese currencies will replace the dollar if China becomes a more powerful global trading force. And Donald Trump has laid the foundation for that to happen in an accelerated way.
Okay, so there are people right now watching saying petrodollar doesn't mean anything, crypto doesn't mean anything. But if the petrodollar system ends, that means it will be a lot harder for the U.S. to finance its own debt. And it's even harder. I mean, listen, it's already hard to sustain Social Security and Medicare. This is only going to get worse.
Absolutely. And the key point to say is this. I don't think the Chinese currency is going to replace the dollar really within our lifetimes, because right now China has got such a tightly controlled financial system, money can't get freely in and out. It makes it almost impossible for it to replace the dollar right now. And when the dollar was replacing the pound sterling, the British currency, around World War I, as you say, there was a clear alternative that was rising in power and whose currency could be freely traded. That's not the case right now. The critical point, though, is exactly what you just heard about financing costs and funding costs, because if you just see international investors get a little bit nervous about the future of the dollar and the financial system in America, they may start to demand a lot more higher rates for lending money to America. Remember, America's about to hit $39 trillion of debt. About $10 trillion worth of debt is going to have to be sold in the next 12 months alone. And a chunk of that's going to be to international investors. So just having that jitter is a way of seeing the funding costs for mortgages, for auto loans, for companies borrowing money
Credit
going up.
cards.
And just so the broader Trump lesson here is massive.
He is the king of debt.
He is the king of debt, massive new American government debt. This war is a win for China. And then the use of crypto, which he's also pushing, we can't trace these payments, i.e. the Iranians are going to get paid in crypto. It'll be there's less transparency. And so Iran, basically what's going to happen is Trump is going to let it become a toll road, deny it's a toll road, but there'll be huge amounts of crypto money being paid by other countries to Iran. Iran will get stronger. I just think overall the world has watched this. China has watched this. Russia has watched this war. Our mighty Air Force, again, air power can crush any rival. That failed. Our alliances are falling apart, and the United States looks weaker now. I was talking to Jason Rezaian, the Washington Post reporter. He's talking to people in Iran. The regime in Iran does feel they have won, that they defeated the United States. So this is just a disaster on so many levels.
And when we refer to Donald Trump as the king of debt, let's remember he was a serial bankruptcy artist. He did not effectively orchestrate the use of debt. He was encumbered by it, and he came within an inch of going personally bankrupt. And he was never a great deal maker. He was considered a cartoon figure in Manhattan by real estate developers who were good deal makers. He got his clock cleaned routinely on deals, whether it was buying the Plaza Hotel or running casinos in Atlantic City into debt and into bankruptcy. And he's never had to pay the consequences of being sloppy and ignorant about how to manage things well and how to manage money well. And he's brought that into the Oval Office.
In all sincerity, to David's point, Iran thinks and says they've won. Pete Hegseth may be saying we won Operation Epic Fury, but truly, is there any faction of the American people or our government that thinks the United States has won?
You know, Iran won by not losing. We didn't win by not fulfilling the standards that we had for what it was. I mean, Donald Trump was talking about unconditional surrender. About the American public, I don't know, because remember, Trump said if I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and I'd still get those voters. I mean, people listen to him.
People listen to him, and they're paying $3.70 a gallon for gas and getting ready for that to be the price or more through the end of the year. And we haven't even started our summer vacations.
And the irony, of course, is, in the last election, if you ask voters, what are your top 100 problems that the world, that you have? Iran was not even in that top 100.
No.
Not one voter would have cited Iran. He has single-handedly made Iran at the top of everybody's list because of the gas price. Because they're pulling up the gas. It's like, I'm paying $2 more or $3 more.
For what?
Because of that flipping place.
And it's
Iran.
blinking on a marquee by the gas station every time they drive by.
Hegseth said this morning that, a total victory. I looked at the first press conference that Hegseth. So the 4 goals: destroy their missile stocks. Not achieved. Maybe a third of them have been destroyed. A third are buried. They're digging them back up again. Destroy their Navy. They did do that, but they can still project power into the Strait of Hormuz. They control the Strait of Hormuz. Stop their proxies from threatening the region. That, the Houthis are emboldened. Yes, Hezbollah's, getting hit hard by the Israelis. And then the last goal was never let them have a nuclear bomb. The enriched uranium is still sitting there, nearly 1,000 pounds of it. They can't make it instantly into a bomb, as Trump alleged. But those were the 4 objectives laid out by Pete Hegseth and a version of it by Donald Trump on day 1 of the war. They've achieved maybe 1.